Let's move on to a big current event this week, and that is the trans announcement that was secretly leaked. Now we're going to show you a series of slides from a CBS News report. CBS basically tricked President Trump into admitting what was happening on trans. The first slide that we're showing you, I want to repeat for the benefit of our audience here at Drink, our sixth host, and also for our panelists. As President Trump was departing the White House to campaign in Texas for Senator Ted Cruz, Mr. Trump told reporters he's looking at it and said that there are a lot of different things happening with respect to transgendered, as reported by CBS News. What CBS was doing was tricking the president into admitting that he actually was looking at trans policy, because they had a secret memo that had been leaked about this. You're looking at slide 2. Again from CBS. According to the language proposed in a portion of the draft memo obtained by CBS News, the Trump administration is suggesting a rollback of more expansive gender identities. The memo goes on, suggests that people should be categorized for Title IX considerations solely by their biological traits with which they were born. Then, our third slide here says, going on, the draft language reads, quote unquote, from the secret White House memo. Proposed definitions will be: sex means a person's status as a male or female based on immutable biological traits identified by or before birth. The sex listed on a person's birth certificate as originally issued shall constitute definitive proof of a person's sex unless rebutted by reliable genetic evidence. Now we give you one more statement from the memo here in slide 4, and I'm going to stop. The bottom line is President Trump and the White House's memo of what they're going to push forward on trans issues is that you are defined by what you were pre-birth up until the moment you were born, and then you can never change your sex again. If adopted, starting with Title IX, it would mean you are a man forever or a female forever. What does this say about the trans community in America?
Well, obviously this one hits a little close to home for me, as you can imagine. And you know, everybody wants to talk about how trans issues are political correctness. So I want to talk a little bit about scientific correctness, since, you know, Republicans suddenly love science when it comes to this topic and not climate change. So, thank you, that was a good one. Honestly, listen, when it comes to scientific correctness, there are more than 2 biological genders. Your science teacher in 5th grade was wrong. It's a little outdated. They've gotten a lot more research these days. And basically, there are people who are born neither male or female. There are a lot of different variations of bodies, of chromosome combinations, of hormone makeup that are not strictly male or female. You may have heard the term intersex. I brought it up a couple weeks ago. That is what that refers to, and there are actually about as many intersex people in the world as there are redheads. So if you know a redhead, you probably also know an intersex person. So this broad definition, or rather this narrow definition of gender, is already eliminating those people right at birth. So it doesn't make any scientific sense for the first point. And then on top of that, gender identity itself is biological. It's not just a psychological thing. It has to do with, you know, research in neurology and endocrinology has shown that gender identity is innate. So basically, not only is it that there are more than 2 genders, it's a whole spectrum of gender, and it is biological. It's not just something that you feel.
I'm curious, Aaron, given your situation, if this memo became law and it got extrapolated broadly beyond Title IX, for all intensive purposes, you are not a man.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's extremely misinformed and it's misguided. At its very core, it's incorrect.
But the goal of it, as I am told to understand it from Fox at least, is to make sex a uniform language for all government agencies in all states. Do you see any benefit, you particularly, in that at all?
Honestly, no. I think the fact that we have allowed our culture to be so dictated by quote-unquote sex, which again is not a scientifically accurate definition as it is a lot of the causes of the problems that we have in general as a society, from rape culture, toxic masculinity, gun violence. I mean, there's a million different things I could list that come back to that.
So how do we homogenize just understanding sex from a birth standpoint across all states in our own country?
I mean, I don't know if I'm necessarily qualified to answer that right offhand, but what I will say is that this is not the way to go.
Well, and the broad question here of the leaked memo is the intent is that they're going to redefine and use this as the slippery slope from Title IX to move to bathrooms, to move to justifications for medical and health care, and to all other kinds of things to say you are now anonymous because you were born a man, you were born a woman, and nothing else is true.
Right. I mean, our community has been fighting for non-discrimination laws to be passed, I mean, for years now, for at least a decade. And this would essentially undo all of the work that we've done.
The scary thing about the memo is, why couldn't the same group of people that formulated this memo to define what trans is, define in the exact same way that gay doesn't exist? Why couldn't they write a memo that says two men can't be together because it doesn't exist?
They very easily could. We're right now 2 weeks before the elections. They want to jump it up. They want to scare it. And right now they can't target the LGBTQ as a whole, so they can target the 1.5 million.
Well, it's that whole saying about, first they came for this group and it wasn't me. Then they came for this group and it wasn't me. I mean, there's no saying that they can't come for you next, or you next, or you next.
But the T is the smallest numerically in the LGBT, and it is a scapegoat to attack at this point.
It's a big issue. The memo was just leaked this week. Any thought from you?
Yeah, my thought is that, listen, if there are any transgender individuals out there still sitting on your ass, content to let others fight for you, it's time for you to get up, get out, and vote.
Awesome observation.
Well, and I want to say one last thing, because this is honestly really important to me. And I'll be remiss to not say what I need to say here. Non-binary, two-spirit, all of the people that fall in between male and female, that's been around since long before our culture. Before this land was stolen and colonized, people here were already living under a spectrum of gender. And not only were they recognized and honored, but they were leaders, they were healers, they were spiritual people. And they were killed and they were erased. And I'm going to promise you that we will not be erased this time. That's absolutely not going to happen. And Donald can write as many memos as he wants, but we're here. We're not going anywhere.
Well, I think the bottom line on the memo leak this week is November 6th is coming, and if you don't get your ass out and vote for whatever it is that you support, you have no one to blame but yourself.
This was going to be my new favorite thing. I started a game where I took my 5 favorite people in South Florida, and whichever of us early votes last has to buy everyone else pizza. I'll do it with you guys too. Make your own group of people, have your own group of friends that are there right now, and go out and vote and encourage each other to vote. And
voting,
the last
voting
one
won't
owes
save
you
us
some
from everything, but it's definitely
That's for UCA.
Yeah.
Make it a fun thing, but the loser has to pay for everyone else, because all of you should be out voting. Whatever your beliefs are, you need to be out voting, please. That's my new favorite real game.
Thank you. It's a big event. It's a big current event in America. The memo was leaked. Congratulations to CBS on the way they set it up to get him to pre-admit that yes, they're evaluating trans issues at the White House, and the memo was behind it, and he didn't know CBS was trapping him when he said it. So congratulations to CBS.